right, let's talk about the one card that, let's be honest, can make your heart skip a beat, even if you've been reading tarot for years. I'm talking, of course, about the Death card. It is, without a doubt, the most feared and misunderstood card in the whole deck. But here's the thing. Its message is actually one of the most powerful. So let's pull back the curtain and demystify this thing together. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why it has such a scary reputation. Then we'll get into its real meaning, which is all about transformation. After that, we'll dive into the amazing story hidden in the artwork, see what happens when we try to fight this change, and finally, we'll talk about how you can actually use this card's energy to grow. Okay, Section 1, the ominous 13th card. Let's get right into why this card gives everyone the chills. So, where do you even start with a card like this? I mean, it's a fair question, right? When it shows up in a reading, it can be, well, pretty jarring. It's built to grab your attention, and man, does it ever succeed. So let's just sit with that feeling for a second and figure out where it all comes from. Well, for starters, it's card number 13. You know, a number that's already got a whole lot of spooky baggage in many cultures. And then, to make it even more mysterious, some of the really old decks didn't even give it a name. They just called it the card with no name. Can you imagine? That just cranked up its whole ominous, powerful vibe to 11. Okay, so this is the absolute most important thing to get. I want to be super clear here. Despite the spooky name, despite the skeleton, this card almost never, ever means a literal, physical death. The fear is about something literal, but the reality, it's all symbolic. It's about a massive transformation, the end of one big chapter to clear the path for the next one. All right, so now that we know we're talking about symbols, not literal doom, let's jump into Section 2, beyond the literal meaning. This is where we get to the good stuff, the card's true message of renewal. You can think of the Death card as the great transformer. Seriously, imagine your life as a book. This card is just the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, this chapter is over. It's all about letting go, but not in a bad way. It's like a cosmic spring cleaning. You have to clear out the old stuff to make space for the new so you can actually move forward. I love this analogy because it just hits the nail on the head. A snake doesn't think twice about shedding its skin, right? It just does it. It's natural. That old skin is tight, it doesn't fit anymore, and holding on to it would literally stop it from growing. That's exactly what this card is talking about. Resisting this kind of change is just pointless. It holds you back. The card is basically cheering you on, saying, let it go, step into your new self. Okay, now we're getting to what I think is one of the coolest parts. Section 3, the story in the symbols. Because the pictures on this card, they aren't just there to look scary. They're a roadmap, a whole visual story about transformation. And we are going to decode every bit of it. So the artwork has definitely changed over time. If you look at the really old decks from the 15th century, the art is, well, it's pretty gruesome. It was heavily influenced by the Black Plague, so you see a lot of skeletons and that whole dance macabre or dance of death vibe. Then, a bit later, the classic Grim Reaper with the scythe became the go-to image. But then, and this is a huge but, in 1909, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck came along and completely changed the game, adding all these powerful symbols of hope and rebirth right into the picture. So let's really look at that famous Rider-Waite-Smith card. First up, the Skeleton Rider. He's not just a scary dude. The skeleton is the part of you that lasts, your core self that endures through all the change. He's wearing armor, right? That's because this kind of transformation is unstoppable, it's inevitable. And that white horse he's on, that's a classic symbol of purity. It's telling us that this whole process, as tough as it might feel, is actually purifying you, getting rid of what you don't need anymore. And if you look even closer, you'll start to see hope literally everywhere on this card. See that black banner he's holding? On it, there's a white rose. That's all about beauty, hope, and new life, popping up right in the middle of the darkness. And check out the background. That sun isn't setting, my friends. It is rising between those two towers. It's a blatant, beautiful promise of a new day, of rebirth. Now, what about all the other people on the card? They're super important too. You've got a dead king on the ground, which basically says, I don't care how powerful you are, change comes for everyone. Then there's a bishop praying, a woman who's literally turning her back in denial, and a little kid who's just looking at the skeleton with curiosity. Sound familiar? They're us. They represent all the different ways we react when faced with a huge, life-altering change. Okay, so the card is all about transformation. That's great. But What happens when we fight it, when we dig our heels in and say no? Well, that brings us to section 4, when change is resisted. And let me tell you, the reversed meaning of this card gives us a crystal clear answer. The consequence, in one single word, is stagnation. That's it. When you resist an ending that needs to happen, you don't actually stop it. You just get stuck. You trap yourself by holding on for dear life to jobs, relationships, or old versions of yourself that are just done. It's this awful, painful feeling of being in limbo. And you can really see the difference here. When the card is upright, it's all about embracing change, transformation, letting go, moving forward. But when it's reversed, it's the complete opposite. It's about resisting change, getting stuck, holding on, repeating the same old patterns. It really is the difference between shedding that old skin and just trying to patch it up with duct tape forever. And this kind of resistance, it probably sounds pretty familiar, right? It's when you cling to a relationship you know in your gut is over. It's staying in that job that drains your soul just because the paycheck is familiar. It's finding yourself in the same self-sabotaging loop over and over again and just feeling completely stuck. When this card shows up reversed, it's like a gentle but firm nudge from the universe whispering, hey, it's time. You can let go now. And all of this leads us to our final and honestly most empowering section. Section 5, your invitation to grow. Because here's the secret. Getting this card, even upside down, isn't a bad thing. It's not a punishment. It is an active invitation to take the wheel and participate in your own evolution. So, what can you actually do to honor this transition? Step 1, just acknowledge the ending. Let yourself be sad. It's totally okay to mourn what you're losing. Step 2, create some kind of personal ritual to mark the moment. You could journal about it, build a little altar, or, hey, even throw a party to celebrate your new beginning. And finally, step 3, turn your gaze to the future. Open the door and welcome in that new chapter with genuine excitement. And that, right there, is the real heart of the death card. It is not some scary prediction of something bad that's going to happen to you. It's an invitation for you to accept. It's a reminder of one of the deepest truths of life. Endings aren't just the end. They're the rich, fertile soil where every single new beginning has to grow. The famous occultist Aleister Crowley put it in a really powerful way. He said, die daily. Now, that sounds intense, but what he meant was, every day, let go of a piece of your old self to make room for the new you. It completely reframes change. It's not about destruction, it's a creative act. An act of love, even, that keeps you growing. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to really think about. Now that you see this card, not as an enemy, but as a powerful ally, what old skin are you ready to shed? What part of your life, what old story about yourself are you finally ready to release so you can make space for the person you're truly meant to become?